Imagine this: every time you open your mouth around certain people, you unknowingly hand them pieces of yourself, your fears, your plans, even your secrets. Sounds harmless, right? But what if those very details are quietly being stored, analyzed, and later used against you? The shocking truth is, manipulators don't just want to hear you talk, they thrive on it. Most of us believe that being open, friendly, or chatty is a sign of trust and confidence. Here's the paradox: in the wrong hands, these very traits make you vulnerable. You think sharing creates connection, but for a manipulator, it's an opportunity. The more you talk, the more control they subtly gain, often without you noticing until it's too late. But here's the empowering part: understanding why manipulators push you to speak is like discovering a secret map. Once you know their tactics, you can reclaim control, protect your privacy, and even turn silence into your strongest tool. By the end of this guide, you won't just recognize manipulation, you'll be equipped to outsmart it effortlessly. Most people underestimate how much manipulators study human behavior. They're not random in their approach. Every question, every smile, every pause is designed to make you spill information. Think of them as chess players, always planning 3 moves ahead, while most of us are playing checkers. Understanding this mindset is the first step to reclaiming control of your own words. Once you see the patterns, it's like flipping on the lights in a dark room. You suddenly notice everything. Manipulators thrive on your verbal breadcrumbs. If you say just a little, they'll probe deeper. If you say a lot, they store it all for future leverage. Imagine telling a coworker about your weekend, only to have it twisted later in a meeting to make you look careless. This isn't paranoia, it's the reality of dealing with people who feed on oversharing. Recognizing their intentions early saves both energy and peace of mind. Here's a subtle trick: pay attention to the questions that feel too personal or designed to steer the conversation. A manipulator will often ask about your weaknesses, desires, or fears, not to be friendly, but to gain ammunition. Journaling your conversations or mentally noting patterns can reveal their methods. Once you understand their mind, the next step, protecting yourself, is much easier to navigate. Oversharing might feel natural, especially with people who seem friendly or curious, but it's a trap manipulators rely on. Every detail you reveal, your habits, worries, even small frustrations, becomes a piece of leverage they can use later. Think of it like giving someone keys to your house. At first, it seems harmless, but suddenly they're rearranging your furniture. Recognizing that what feels like casual conversation can carry hidden risks is crucial. One practical example: imagine chatting with a colleague about a project delay, casually admitting you missed a deadline. That tiny detail could be spun to question your competence in future meetings. Manipulators aren't always obvious villains. Often, they're charming, seemingly supportive people. The danger is subtle but very real. Knowing the cost of oversharing changes how you approach every interaction, making you naturally more cautious without being cold. A simple habit to protect yourself is pausing before answering personal questions. Ask yourself, do they really need to know this? Or, could this be used against me? Even practicing short, non-committal responses can build a protective shield over time. Once this mindset clicks, you'll start noticing red flags faster, and the next step, understanding their psychological tricks, becomes much easier to handle. Manipulators don't always confront you head-on. They rely on subtle psychological techniques to get you talking. One common tactic is mirroring, matching your tone, pace, and even gestures to create a false sense of trust. It feels like instant connection, but it's a carefully crafted illusion. Recognizing these tricks is like learning the magician's secret. Once you know the sleight of hand, it loses its power. Another classic is the good cop, bad cop dynamic. Even in casual interactions, they might alternate between charm and criticism, nudging you to justify yourself endlessly. For example, a friend might tease you about a small mistake, then act overly supportive, prompting you to over-explain. This isn't mere friendliness. It's a psychological nudge designed to extract information. Being aware of these patterns turns them from manipulator into just another human trying too hard to impress. A practical strategy is to pause and observe your own reactions. If you notice yourself explaining more than usual or defending choices unnecessarily, take a mental step back. Techniques like counting to 3 before responding or subtly redirecting the conversation can break their rhythm. Once you master this awareness, the next topic, why silence is your superpower, becomes the ultimate tool in your arsenal. Silence is often underrated, but in the hands of someone aware, it's a weapon of clarity and control. When a manipulator expects you to fill the void, pausing instead shifts the power subtly back to you. Think of it like a suspenseful pause in a movie. The tension makes them reveal more than you ever planned to ask. Mastering the art of silence isn't about being rude. It's about strategic self-protection. Consider meetings or casual conversations. Instead of immediately answering probing questions, take a breath, nod, or give a neutral response. Manipulators dislike uncertainty, they want predictability, and your calm restraint disrupts their rhythm. Even a few seconds of thoughtful pause can change the entire dynamic, making them rethink how much they try to extract from you. It's like holding the reins in a horse race. You guide the pace without force. A practical exercise is to practice reflective listening. Repeat part of what the other person said, then pause. This not only buys you time, but subtly puts the focus back on them, encouraging them to talk more instead of you. Once you embrace silence as a superpower, you're ready to implement concrete strategies to consistently protect yourself from manipulators. Protecting yourself from manipulators starts with awareness, but thrives on actionable strategies. One simple yet powerful step is setting clear boundaries. Decide in advance what topics you won't discuss and stick to them. For example, if a coworker repeatedly probes into your personal life, have a few polite but firm responses ready. Consistency and boundaries signals that you're not an open book. Another practical approach is cultivating a mental filter during conversations. Before sharing details, ask yourself, could this be twisted or used against me? Over time, this habit becomes second nature, reducing oversharing without making you distant. Journaling conversations or reflecting afterward can also reveal patterns in your own behavior, helping you adjust in real time. Finally, surround yourself with trustworthy allies who respect your limits and reinforce your confidence. Manipulators are less likely to push when they see you backed by supportive, grounded relationships. Combine this with your silence, awareness of tricks, and boundary setting, and you've built a robust defense. With these steps in place, dealing with manipulators becomes less stressful and more manageable, leaving you in control of your own narrative. Now that you understand the subtle games manipulators play, it's time to put this knowledge into action. Start by noticing the patterns around you: who asks probing questions, who mirrors your words, and who thrives on your oversharing. Awareness alone gives you an edge, but applying boundaries, practicing strategic silence, and reflecting on conversations will truly shift the power back to you. Ask yourself, how often have I unknowingly given away pieces of myself? How much more confident and in control could I feel if I spoke less and listened more? These aren't just questions, they're prompts for real change. Each interaction becomes a choice, not a trap. The more intentional you are, the less manipulators can influence your decisions, your feelings, and your life. And finally, don't navigate this journey alone. Surround yourself with allies who respect your limits. Practice these techniques daily, and encourage those around you to value their own boundaries. If you found these insights valuable, imagine how much more you could learn by subscribing and activating notifications, because staying informed is the ultimate defense.